At the end of the First World War in 1918, the need to build new shipping was urgent, but due to a shortage of steel for smaller vessels, it was decided to explore alternative construction materials. The jagged remains that you see here on Whitby Scar in North Yorkshire is the wreck of the Creteblock, a concrete tugboat built in 1919. The Creteblock was launched by the John Vermeer Shipbuilding Company in Shoreham-by-Sea in West Sussex on June 3rd, 1920. Remarkably, these photos, owned by Kevin Barrett, who kindly gave permission to use them, show the actual launching. The first depicts the launch itself, conducted by a Mrs. J.S. Hardy. The second shows the Creteblock sliding down the slipway, while the third shows her settling in what is presumably the River Ada. One of 6 of her class, the Creteblock weighed 267 tons with a length of 125 feet, 28 feet at the beam and a draft of 12.5 feet, and was powered by a triple expansion steam engine turning a single screw and capable of delivering 10 knots. She appears to have spent her entire existence after leaving Sussex on the northeast coast, but thanks largely to her non-standard construction, she was laid up on the Tyne in 1927 and removed from the Lloyd's Register. By the early 1930s, her new owner in West Hartlepool decided to remove all useful fittings and machinery and downgrade her to use as a hulk. However, a year later, while being towed to Whitby, she collided with the West Pier. Beached nearby for a brief time, she was finally berthed alongside. And there she lay, used largely as a fisherman's store until 1947, when the decision was taken to scuttle her. It's not clear how she found her way onto Whitby Scar, whether breaking her moorings and drifting or parting her tow under transport. But here she lay to this day. Beneath the imposing Jurassic cliffs of Saltwick Bay, Creteblock's remains are still visible at low tide, and it was here where an attempt was made to break the wreck up further using dynamite, a venture which clearly had limited success. Approaching those lone pieces of wreckage, it conveys the impression of a debris field associated with an underwater wreck, which I suppose when you think about it, as it's covered by the tide for half its time, that's essentially what this is. So the first part I'm going to look at is the forecastle area of the bow section, which is obviously broken away. Now, here's our deck. So it's lying on its port side. The bow front would have been beyond there. And I've just put my foot in a big rock pool. Here in this photo you can see the area that I'm looking at. So the actual bow piece, the prow, which cuts through the water, has broken away, and here you can see the reinforced concrete with iron rods sticking out. And then over here we have the actual prow section, and you can see where the anchor chain would have emerged from, the hull, and then inside the prow. And here is that bow section, and here a hawse hole where the anchor cable emerged, and incredibly you can still see the letters CRE, which would have once read Creteblock. I've been looking at these box-like structures around the midships area on the right or starboard side, and I think they're part of the bridge superstructure. Here you can see the same structures from the port side, and this is the area where I believe the wreckage to have come from. Now, moving aft from the boxes, it's all a bit of a mess, isn't it? No doubt a result of that attempted demolition, and let's not forget nearly 80 years of tides and storms have also taken their toll. Have a look at this huge slab of concrete, and it looks pretty intact as well, probably immune from any dynamite I'd imagine, and stands up to the waves quite well. I wonder if that was what the steam engine was mounted on, the triple expansion steam engine. It appears to be in the right area of the boat. Returning to the reference photo once more, and I was looking around this area of the Creteblock. Now, obviously, if that huge concrete slab was the engine mounting block, it would have sat lower down inside the hull beneath the waterline, but the position of it sits nicely directly behind where the boiler room would have been and beneath the funnel in approximately this location. And here we get a good view of the largely complete deck area of the stern. But if I go around to the other side, the port side, I know I can get a much closer view. And now we get an up-close look at the stern, the rear of the boat, and it's clearly the most identifiable and intact part of the Creteblock. The gunnels are very evident here. Those are the raised sides of the boat that you can see, and even the hull shape is still visible. I can't quite see where the propeller would have protruded. Now that gap in the gunnel, I don't think that's by design, and it's likely a piece that's been broken off by the sea's relentless pounding. And the circular hole that you can see is a hawse hole. It's where an anchor cable or a hawser, or hawser, however you want to pronounce it, which is basically a heavy rope, would have passed through. A look at the stern remains from above reveals that beautiful elliptical shape. But relating to the hawse hole, which we just looked at, on the raised area highlighted would have sat a steam-powered winch, likely used to haul in and out the cable used to tow larger ships, while directly behind that was a steam-powered capstan. Now, this would have probably been used to wind in and keep the aft mooring ropes taut. And while on the bow we saw the first three letters of her name, here on the stern we are treated to Creteblock in its entirety. It's been 78 years since Creteblock settled here on Whitby Scar, and despite man and nature's attempts to remove her, she is still just about recognisable as a boat, although probably not for too many more years. Fortunately, her sister ship, Crete Gaff, is still afloat in Carlingford Marina in Ireland, and with her existence and the remains of the Creteblock, a legacy remains of a time when human ingenuity was forced to overcome adversity.